The story opens on a grim and dehumanizing scene, the slave market of Garvialith, a location steeped in brutality and commerce. This is not a hidden, shady corner of the galaxy. It's a widely accepted institution where dozens of alien species gather to buy and sell sentient beings like commodities. Immediately, the setting illustrates a core injustice of this universe. Slavery is not just tolerated, it's normalized and profitable. This paints the galaxy as a morally bankrupt place where power and status are determined not by empathy or ethics, but by strength, efficiency, and usefulness. Hundreds of enslaved beings are paraded before the crowd. The spectacle is chillingly transactional. Bids are cast with practiced ease. Buyers compete with cold efficiency, and the auctioneer maintains a rhythm devoid of conscience. These are not just beings being sold. They are resources in the eyes of their captors. The being sold includes some of the galaxy's most skilled or unique species: Roltic warriors, Thran engineers, Dravax mind-bonded twins. This detail not only shows the range of species enslaved, but also that the crowd is buying based on usefulness, power, or prestige. The moment one's value diminishes or is unknown, they are discarded. As the auction progresses, the crowd thins. Everyone leaves satisfied, carrying away their prizes until only one figure remains. And this is where the story pivots. The last enslaved being is an enigma. There is no record of their origin, no data file or identification. They're not even described as male or female. The being is referred to only by a lot number, Lot 493. This lack of information is intentional. It's a reflection of how completely this person has been erased from galactic history. They're not even worth labeling. They're called defective and marked with unknown use, which implies that the auctioneer and by extension, the entire system sees no practical function for this being. In a marketplace built on usefulness, they are considered worthless. This is a core theme: worth and recognition. The auctioneer barely tries to sell Lot 493. There's no showmanship, no push, just a bored, dismissive announcement. It's almost ceremonial, as if this is a formality before the being is discarded entirely. And then someone speaks. The silence is broken by a quiet voice, casual, even curious. "I'll take them." This line changes the entire energy of the scene. Heads turn. Confusion spreads. No one was expected to speak up. Especially not for that one. The speaker is a human. A rarity in galactic slave markets, especially in this kind of outer system den of depravity. His name, Captain Elric Voss. His appearance is rugged and utilitarian: leather coat, dusty boots. A faded insignia of the now-defunct Terran Navy clings to his shoulder, suggesting he's not just a trader or traveler, but possibly a former soldier or spacer with a past. The auctioneer is visibly surprised, maybe even amused. "You want that?" he asks, as though the very notion is absurd. His reaction reflects the prejudice of the entire galaxy, that something labeled as worthless is truly without value. But Voss is undeterred. "I'll take them," he repeats. In this moment, Voss's decision is about more than charity. He doesn't know what Lot 493 is. He has no guarantee of gain. But something inside him, perhaps intuition, perhaps principle, sees something others don't. He doesn't buy them for profit. He buys them because they were left behind. And that simple act, one person seeing worth where no one else does, becomes the spark for everything that follows. This part establishes several key themes: the cruelty of the galaxy and its blind pursuit of utility and control, the uniqueness of humans, particularly in the HFY genre, where humanity often shows empathy, stubbornness, or insight others lack, the mystery of Echo, Lot 493, whose past is hidden but clearly not simple. And most importantly, the transformative power of being seen, which lies at the heart of many HFY stories. Shifts the story from the chaotic cruelty of the slave market to the quiet, tense aftermath aboard Captain Elric Voss's ship, the Wayfarer's Grin. With the auction over, Voss has done something irrational by galactic standards. He's purchased the only being no one else wanted, Lot 493. Now given the name Echo, this part explores several interwoven themes: isolation and silence, the slow thaw of trauma, the early signs of something greater beneath the surface, human empathy versus galactic indifference, awkward beginnings. The story opens with Echo being transported back to Voss's ship. The tone is not triumphant. There's no instant bonding or dramatic reveal. Instead, it's awkward. Echo doesn't speak. They don't resist, but neither do they engage. They move like a ghost following commands, doing only what is expected, and keeping their eyes down. This silence speaks volumes. Echo has been broken by slavery in ways the galaxy has normalized. They're not rebellious or aggressive. They're numb, and Voss doesn't force anything. This shows a core human trait in HFY narratives: patience. Unlike the galaxy's transactional, pragmatic nature, Voss allows Echo space to exist. He runs a salvage ship, not a luxury liner. He's no rich benefactor. He's practical and likely has limited resources. That makes his decision to bring Echo on board even more significant. He saw something beyond usefulness, but even he admits to himself he doesn't quite know why he did it. Instinct. Over logic. Voss tries to explain it to himself. Maybe it was pity. Maybe it was curiosity. But deep down, he knows it was instinct. Something about Echo pulled at a gut feeling, the same feeling that likely kept him alive through war, deals gone wrong, and hyperspace jumps through collapsing stars. He doesn't even know if Echo can speak. He doesn't know if they're dangerous or broken or even sentient in the traditional sense. Still, he gives them a name: Echo. This act, subtle as it is a seismic moment. Names hold power, especially in HFY stories. By giving Echo a name, Voss is declaring that they are someone, not just a lot number. It's the first crack in the wall that has surrounded Echo's soul for who knows how long, but Echo doesn't react. At least, not yet. The first signs. Days pass. The Wayfarer's Grin continues its usual operations, scavenging wrecks, patching hulls, selling scrap. Voss isn't one for small talk, but he starts involving Echo in small tasks. Nothing too difficult, mostly observational. Echo doesn't ask questions, doesn't initiate conversation. Then one day, something happens. A critical plasma manifold essential to the ship's power grid blows out. Voss prepares for hours of dirty work. But when he returns, with tools in hand, he finds the manifold already repaired. And not just patched, it's been optimized. Clean, precise, almost surgical. No one else could have done it. He looks at Echo, who simply says nothing. Voss stares. How the hell? It's a pivotal moment, not just because Echo did something useful, but because they chose to. There was no order, no reward. It was an act of will, of memory, of action. And finally, Echo speaks. Echo's voice. I remember things. The words are simple, but haunting. They suggest a vast well of experience and knowledge hidden beneath that broken exterior. Voss asks what kind of things. Echo's response is chilling in its implications. Before the stars went cold. This single sentence shifts the tone of the entire narrative. It suggests age, possibly ancient memory. It suggests Echo is not just some low-value being. They are old. Possibly older than the empires currently ruling the galaxy. Possibly predating modern civilization. And yet, they were discarded like trash. Implications and tone. Part 2 balances mystery with emotion. It's not an action-packed chapter, it's a quiet burn. But the narrative is doing heavy lifting. It shows the emotional consequences of slavery without dramatizing them. It explores how trauma dulls identity and how a simple act of kindness like naming someone can begin to unravel. It slowly begins to peel back the mystery of Echo's past. Marks the turning point in the story where mystery starts turning into revelation, and the true magnitude of Echo's nature begins to show. What was once subtle and suggestive becomes active, undeniable, and dangerous. The galaxy notices, and for the first time, we see Echo begin to wake up, not just as a person, but as something potentially far beyond personhood. Let's break this down. The quiet build-up this part begins with life on the Wayfarer's Grin moving along, but something has changed. Echo, once silent and passive, has started to engage not emotionally, but through actions. They correct Voss's astrogation charts in ways even advanced AI can't. They increase the ship's hyperdrive, efficiency by 42%, a staggering improvement even professional engineers couldn't achieve. They make offhanded comments about long-lost systems and ancient star lanes, referencing galactic structures or civilizations that Voss has never even heard of. All of this builds the sense that Echo isn't just intelligent, they're impossibly old and deeply connected to forgotten knowledge, but there's no arrogance. Echo doesn't boast. They never seek praise or recognition. They simply remember. This becomes a central motif. Echo is not inventing. They are remembering. And that realization unsettles Voss deeply. The first real question after enough quiet. Miracles, Voss finally confronts Echo with the obvious question. Who are you? This moment is critical. Up until now, Voss has shown patience, respect, and empathy. But now, curiosity and concern creep in. Echo's abilities are beyond any normal being, possibly even beyond anything Voss has ever seen. And Echo's answer? I don't know, they reply. I was meant to be erased. This line changes the nature of the mystery entirely. Now we're not just dealing with an enslaved person who's forgotten their past. We're dealing with a being someone actively tried to remove from history. Meant to be erased implies intentional suppression, likely by powerful actors. A threat that Echo once posed to someone or something. And most disturbingly, a sense of self-awareness that Echo knows they were not just forgotten. But buried. Echo isn't broken. Echo was targeted. Conflict arrives before Voss can process all of this. Danger arrives in the form of a Syndicate warcruiser. The Syndicate is one of the powerful factions in this galaxy, likely criminal or authoritarian in nature. And they've tracked down Echo. They don't offer negotiation. They don't say return the slave or you've taken stolen property. Instead, they speak like someone retrieving a weapon that escaped the vault. Turn over the defective unit. You have something you shouldn't. This is a damning statement. It confirms Echo is not just valuable, they're forbidden. Voss refuses, naturally. And then they fire. This could have been the end. The Wayfarer's Grin is just a salvage ship. It should have been vaporized. But that's not what happens. The awakening in the heat of the moment, Echo steps forward. No weapons. No armor. Just presence. Their hands begin to glow not with typical plasma energy or any known tech, but with geometric light complex, multidimensional, structured. It's not magic, not sorcery. It's science so advanced it appears mystical. Clark's third law in motion. From them pulses a wave of harmonic energy, not destructive, but precise. And in an instant, the Syndicate warcruiser is ripped apart mid-jump. Falling from hyperspace in shreds. This is the true moment of Echo's re-emergence. Their power is not just potent, it's on a scale that rivals or exceeds galactic superweapons. And more importantly, It was wielded with complete control. This is not rage, not chaos. Not vengeance. It is awakening. Voss single quotes S reaction after the dust settles. Voss is no longer confused, he's afraid. But not of Echo. He's afraid of what Echo represents. Echo, what are you? And Echo answers, not with certainty, but with a truth that chills deeper than any data file. I think. I was a weapon once, and a guardian. Maybe. Both. This is the emotional climax of Part 3. Echo is not proud of this. Not triumphant. They speak like someone recovering pieces of themselves they didn't ask to lose and now questioning what they were built for. Themes and tone. Part 3 builds tension and wonder in equal measure. Key ideas explored. Hidden power. Echo was not just underestimated, they were intentionally buried. Human empathy under fire. Voss doesn't run, doesn't try to profit. He chooses to stand with Echo, even before knowing what Echo is. Marks a shift from survival and mystery to exploration and revelation. With Echo's powers awakened and the Syndicate's attempt to retrieve them thwarted, Captain Elric Voss knows one thing for certain. Echo is not ordinary. In fact, they may not even be part of this age of the galaxy at all. This chapter pulls the story into the mythic and ancient, connecting Echo's past to a much larger history. We leave the day-to-day functions of a salvage ship and plunge into galactic archaeology, cosmic memory, and long-buried truths. The search for answers. Voss is no longer content with just trusting his instincts. He now has questions that can't be ignored. Who were Echo's creators? What kind of being has this kind of power, and why would they be enslaved? Why did the galaxy forget them, or try to forget them? In a classic HFY moment, Voss chooses action over fear. Rather than turning Echo over to someone more qualified or treating them as a threat, he asks, "Where do you want to go?" And Echo, for the first time, offers direction. They speak of a place that comes to them in fragments, a memory. That isn't theirs alone, but part of their design, a ring of light. A world with no star, a vault built for silence. That leads them to the edge of known space, where stars are sparse and travel is rare. There, they find it, a colossal ring world, broken but intact, millions of years old, humming with dead systems and forgotten data. It is not in any map, not even in the most ancient archives, which means its absence is not oversight. It's deliberate. Something wanted this place gone. Echo's connection to the past once inside the ring world. The Wayfarer's grin can go no further. Atmosphere shifts. Energy signatures spike. Machines trill softly in languages lost to time. But the moment Echo sets foot on the metal, everything changes. The structure responds. Lights flicker to life. Gravity stabilizes. A gate opens, silently welcoming a long-absent guardian. The entire ring world was dormant, waiting for a specific signature, and that signature is Echo. They lead Voss deep into the heart of the structure. The walls display holograms of planets restored, wars ended, races protected, and cataclysms prevented by beings who resemble Echo. Echo begins to remember not through words, but through feelings. The closer they move to the core, the more of themselves they reclaim. And then they find the archive. The archive and the revelation inside. The core of the ring world is a crystalline archive alive with stored data, fragments of time, and flowing memory. When Echo steps inside, it doesn't merely open, it sings. It floods them with truth. Echo was not born. They were designed by a pre-galactic civilization that ascended so far beyond the physical that they left behind constructs to protect reality from tearing itself apart. Echo was one of these protectors. Not just a weapon, not just a guardian, but a being engineered to preserve balance, to stop extinction events, suppress rogue technologies. and defend weaker species from annihilation. And for countless millennia, Echo did exactly that. But when their creators vanished by choice or catastrophe, Echo remained. And over time, the newer empires began to see beings like Echo as threats. Not because they were evil, but because they were powerful and unaligned with any throne or council. Echoes. Memories were stolen. They were hunted, captured, enslaved. Their knowledge was wiped bit by bit until they became just another forgotten relic passed between masters. Until Voss. Human empathy versus galactic fear. The real emotional core of this part is in Voss's reaction. Many would have been afraid, or overwhelmed, or eager to sell the information. But Voss just watches as Echo steps out of the archive taller, stronger, clearer, with glowing lines tracing their arms like veins of starlight. Voss doesn't step back. He steps forward. "You weren't defective," he says. "You were. Too powerful to be understood." It's a statement of truth, of recognition. Echo isn't just useful now. They are sacred, a bridge between ancient order and present chaos. And Voss, a human with no throne or legacy, is the only one who saw it first. This moment solidifies the theme of the story. In a galaxy that worships strength and discards what it cannot control, it took a human to see value in what everyone else called worthless. Delivers the culmination of everything the story has been building toward, Echo's full awakening, the galaxy's reaction, and the final transformation of Voss from a simple freighter captain into a symbol of something far greater. What began as a quiet, desperate act of empathy in a slave market now ripples across entire star systems. Let's break it down. The secret can't stay hidden. Word spreads fast. The syndicate ship's destruction. The reactivation of a ringworld no one knew existed. A being once called worthless, now radiating power older than empires. What happened in secret has now become a galactic whisper, then a scream. Governments, corporations, and ancient institutions all begin to scramble. Not because Echo is simply powerful, but because of what their existence means. The galaxy isn't built on truth. It's built on forgotten lies. Echo is living proof that before the current order, there was a force designed not to control or conquer, but to protect. A power created not by greed, but by wisdom, and more dangerously, a power not loyal to any regime. This terrifies the ruling factions. They built a galaxy where obedience and classification were everything. Echo does not fit. Echo never did. The rise of the forgotten, but Echo's awakening does more than frighten governments. It inspires the oppressed. Throughout the galaxy, stories begin to circulate of a being once enslaved, now shaking the foundations of the galaxy. With only one ally, a human who saw worth when no one else did, and that story spreads faster than any fleet. It reaches children born into bonded servitude who now ask, what if we're more than property? Scientists working under surveillance, wondering what else the galaxy has hidden from them. Species once enslaved, now ruled by bureaucracy, beginning to remember the taste of rebellion, and at the center of it all is Echo and Voss, the human, who set them free, not with force, but with belief. This is a classic HFY move, not just showing human strength in battle, but human defiance and belief. Humanity's role throughout the story, humanity has played no major galactic role. There's no Terran empire, no interstellar domination. Voss isn't a representative of Earth. He's just a guy with a busted ship and a sharp gut instinct. But in many HFY stories, that's the point. Humans don't lead by power alone. They lead by doing what others won't. Voss didn't buy Echo for gain. He didn't try to sell them or cage them or beg them to be a weapon. He gave them food, a name, a space of their own, and that made all the difference. The galaxy sees this now. A human didn't just awaken an ancient being, he restored their identity. That act becomes a catalyst. The turning tide, the Syndicate places a bounty on Echo. The Galactic Council issues denials. Propaganda floods networks to dismiss the story. But it's too late. Voss and Echo are no longer fugitives, they are legends. And more than that, others begin to rise. Inspired by Echo's reawakening, more beings long thought useless, defective, or too alien to understand begin to exhibit strange abilities, ancient memories, lost technologies. They too had been enslaved, silenced, or erased, and now they come forward. Some are builders. Some are healers. Some are weapons like Echo, but all of them were once forgotten. Now, thanks to one human act of defiance, they are remembered. Echo's final transformation. By the end of Part 5, Echo is no longer hunched or hesitant. They speak clearly, walk confidently. Their appearance is no longer frail, it radiates a quiet, composed strength. Their skin pulses with threads of energy. Their eyes see in spectrums unknown. But they are still Echo. They have not become a god. They have simply become whole, and they remain at Voss's side not as a servant or protector, but as an equal. Together, they visit forgotten systems, restore collapsed ecosystems, disarm entire fleets without firing a shot. Where they go, people remember not just Echo, but what Voss did, because in the end, the galaxy didn't just forget Echo, it forgot how to see worth without a label. The final scene, the story ends with a calm moment. Echo, now known across the stars, watches the night from a rebuilt observatory. Planets rotate below. Above, stars ripple like songs. Voss leans on the railing beside them, cigar lit, gaze quiet. Didn't expect all this, he mutters. Echo turns to him. Neither did I, but you were the first to look at me. And not see a tool. You weren't a tool, Voss replies. You were a person. That's all I needed to know. And in that moment, the entire galaxy's hierarchy built on fear, power, and control feels small.